hit you every time. Every time you come his way, I'm going to hit you. Let's go. You don't want no problem, bro.
Welcome to the Zone Coverage Football Show, your pre-game build-up to NFL Sunday.
It's about to get ugly. I'm eating burritos bigger than you. You're having one of those days. Hey, baby, you're having one of those days.
Coming at you live from Tees Towers is your host, Mark Tees. Good afternoon, folks. Hope everyone is well. Welcome along to the good old Zone Coverage Football Show. Mark Tees here, your host for the next 90 minutes as we delve into the wonderful world of pigskin. But before we get to the nitty-gritty of the show, let's get some of the formalities out of the way, shall we? First up, listening live, you've got a couple of options here. You can do that via the TuneIn app or the Spreaker app. And the really cool thing with the Spreaker app, I say this every week, but just in case you've missed it, we do have a live chat room. And in the chat room right now, we have John Cartwright, Robert's just popped in, and Terry so far. So good afternoon, gentlemen. Hope you are well, and thanks for joining me once again at Zone Coverage Football Show. Failing that, if you can't listen live, quite a few people have been downloading us via iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and YouTube as well. But just go back to Spreaker. If that's new to you, just head on over to Spreaker.com. You can sign up if you've got a Facebook page, Twitter account, all that sort of nonsense. Search Zone Coverage Football Show. Listen live. You can listen via your desktop, via your mobile, via your tablet. So all that's good. And tweet out as well. That'd be fantastic. Covered the iTunes stuff, all that. Social media-wise, if you want to tweet in at me today, feel free to do so. That is Zone Coverage FS. We've got a Facebook page, Google Plus page, Instagram page. Just, we're everywhere, basically. We're all like water. There's nowhere where we aren't. David's just joined the chat room as well, so good afternoon, David. So, a nice busy chat room, like last week. Last week's kickoff was fantastic. Very, very busy show. So, right then, what do we have coming up this week? We're going to continue with our in-season form/programming. So we've got the Hot Route coming up in a moment. This is where I'm going to play some radio calls, and you guys decide which were the plays of the week. I can't get the calls for all the games. I can only get the ones for the big televised games. So if there is a great call and you want to just mention that, tweet in at me at Zone Coverage FS, or you can even text me on 07444 048 266. That would be very much appreciated. We've got the NFL news. We're going to rattle through that, keep you updated, what's been going on over the course of the last week. The Players of the Week as well. I'm going to introduce that this week. The AFC Players of the Week and NFC Players of the Week. We have Fan versus Fan this week. We have the Bills and the Patriots squaring off. So we bring you back a fan favourite, Charlie, who's been on the show a couple of times representing the Patriots. So looking forward to chatting to Charlie. And we have a newcomer to the show, Matt, representing the Bills. So it's going to be an interesting conversation there. So looking forward to that. Beyond that, we have the fantasy news coming from the guys over at Dundee NFL around about 4:30ish, and then we're going to round off the show as we do every week with Tom from Huddle Magazine with any late sort of team news, injury news, lineup news and all that. So by the time 6 o'clock rolls round, you should be pretty much well prepared for your Pigskin Sunday. John McDonald's just joined in on the chat room, so good afternoon, John. I think I've got everyone there in the chat room now, so we will get to that in a moment. First off then, let's get to this week's Hot Route.
Hot Route. Vote for your favorite play of the week.
Right then, if you are new to the show, Hot Route, like I said at the top there, this is where we play some radio calls from the past week's games. I want then you guys to tweet in at Zone Coverage FS, or if you're in the chat room, you can drop in how you feel is the best play of the week. So sit back and enjoy these.
Hot Route. Vote for your favorite play of the week.
Tavon Austin is back at his 34 to receive the John Ryan punt. It is a deep punt, but Austin can return it. He drifts back to the 26, to the left side, 30, 35, 40. Cuts to the left all the way to the sideline. Still going down the left sideline to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, St. Louis. Tavon Austin's second score of the day. This is a punt return from 64 yards. And the Rams are in front now, 23-13.
13 seconds to play. Cowboys down 6, 26-20. Romo creeping up under center, now backs up in the gun. 3 receivers left, single wide to the right. Dunbar to his right. Romo, low snap, bobbled. He picks it up, has time, throws for the end zone, caught by Witten. Touchdown! Touchdown! Jason Witten. The Cowboys an extra point away from taking the lead with 7 seconds to go in Dallas.
3rd and 8 for Philly, down by 2. Bradford fires through the hands of the receiver and intercepted. Ricardo Allen off the deflection, and that will do it. It glanced off of Jordan Matthews, and that'll seal the deal for the Falcons.
There's a handoff to Hyde, directed right, stops, bounces, he cuts the other way, got a block from Kaepernick, he's at the 5, he angles to the far side, he gallops into the end zone for a Niner touchdown. A 10-yard touchdown run by Carlos Hyde, directed right, the door was shut, went left, quarterback with the block, and into the end zone for a Niner touchdown.
And there we have it, folks. That is this week's Hot Roast. So the first one was obviously from the Seahawks-Rams game, that punt return by Tavon Austin. Then we had the Cowboys-Giants game with Jason Witten tight end, where the Giants calamitous fall from the lead there. It was comical to say the very least. I'm going to touch on that a little later. So hashtag Austin, hashtag Witten, and we have the Ricardo Allen interception from the Eagles-Falcons game. So hashtag Allen, and then we have the Carlos Hyde touchdown run in the 49ers-Viking game. So hashtag Austin, Witten, Allen or Hyde. So get them coming in. There's a couple of these already, so I appreciate that via the chat room. Also, the calls for the games. The calls for the Seahawks-Rams game was by Kevin Lee. Cowboys-Giants was Kevin Colgate and James Lofton. For the Falcons-Eagles, that was Ian Eagle and Boom Esiason. For the 49ers-Vikings games, those calls came via Kevin Harlan and Kurt Warner. They were all brought to you courtesy of WestwoodOneSports.com. Keep mentioning WestwoodSports.com. Basically said they don't sue me ass for using these clips. So if you want to listen to any of the big games that are televised, head on over to the TuneIn app, follow Westwood One Sports, catch the games live via then. So keep the tweets coming in. There's a lot of chat in the chat room, actually. Who was it that just tweeted me now? Will Davies tweeted me. Shots fired about the Fantasy League last week. So, yes, got me a rear end smacks there. Well, we'll touch on the Fantasy League later on. There's also a lot of talk in the chat room regarding the young rookie who was sensational on Thursday night, Mr. Peters. He had a fantastic game, and what a game of ball that was. The Broncos were very, very lucky in that game. Really enjoyed that game. Bizarre game. Chiefs. It should have been an easy win for the Chiefs. That Broncos D was phenomenal. Right then, I'm just going to check in on Twitter at Zone Coverage FS. Simon is your fantasy advice coming up for today at 4:30. So we have Simon on. So looking forward to chatting with Simon. It's been a while since he's been on the show. Right then, just mentioned Will Davis had tweeted me. Cameron has as well, has been going through today. Quite a few people retweeting at the shows on at 6 o'clock today. John Cartwright won. Even the wife's tweeted me out, so that's a first. So I appreciate that. Also, we heard from Matt Phillips and Dennis, who's doing the 31 Game Stadium tour. I've been retweeting his pictures out. He was actually in Kansas for that Chiefs-Broncos game on Thursday. I do believe he's in Philadelphia today. Dream matchup for Dennis because he's a Cowboys fan, so that should be a good game for him. I've not heard from Dennis regarding anything of late. I did see him pop up on Skype earlier. I'm not sure if he's going to call the show or what. So Dennis, if by some miracle you are listening, hit me up, buddy, and we'll get you on the show. It'll be interesting to see how the journey is going so far. Right, and so keep these tweets coming in then for this week's Hot Route again. Austin, Witten, Allen or Hyde are your hashtags so far. Let's jump into some good old NFL news. NFL news! Right then, where's my news gone? Here we go. First up then, yes, last week, how many injuries were there week one? That was one of my biggest takeaways as well, by the way. So many injuries. It was ridiculous. One of the big injuries, not that they all weren't big for every team that was out there Sunday, but Ravens, Terrell Suggs, he's done for the year with a torn Achilles. The Ravens then moved to sign former Jets Jason Babin. That happened on Tuesday night. Des Bryant had a broken bone in his foot. The initial report suggested that he was out for 4 to 8 weeks. And then I've seen just before jumping on air, in fairness, that he's now going to be out for around about 10 to 12 weeks because he's required a bone graft. So that is a huge loss there for the Cowboys. During the week as well, they traded a draft pick for Raiders wide receiver Bryce Butler. Redskins wide receiver Deshaun Jackson, he's set to miss 3 or 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. The Redskins also cut ties with kicker Kai Forbath in order to bring in free agent Dustin Hopkins. Last week, Forbath went 1 of 2 against the Dolphins. And also, more Redskins news is cornerback Chris Culliver has been suspended without pay for 1 game for violating the league's personal conduct policy. Culliver apparently pleaded guilty to a pair of misdemeanors in June to resolve a case in which he hit a cyclist, fled the scene, then threatened a citizen with brass knuckles. What are you doing, Chris Culliver? That's just madness. This all happened in Santa Clara, California back in March 2004, and that is via the Washington Times. The Falcons have signed offensive tackle Jake Long. This happened on Monday. You'll remember that Long was a first-round overall pick back in 2008. He missed the majority of last year with a torn ACL that he picked up in October. The Raiders' defense, we was raving about that coming into the season. It got absolutely put to the sword under the guile of, Andy Dalton last week. They've now lost both safeties. Charles Woodson has a dislocated shoulder and Nate Allen has a torn MCL. He's due to be out for around about 8 weeks. I've not seen no time scale on Woodson as yet. I'm very, very doubtful that he will grace the team this week. Anyway, and to compensate for that, the team brought back Taylor Mays. So that Raiders secondary, that is absolutely brutal. Right, I'm just going to check in on the chat room because there's a lot of talk in the chat room at the moment and I can't scroll back up for some bizarre reason. Tom's just popped in there, so good afternoon, Tom. We shall speak to you later. A lot of people talking about the college games last night. Talking to the college game, Robert actually tweeted me some highlights of one of the LSU backs. And wow, absolutely frightening. So I appreciate that, Robert. I do believe I did tweet you back. So I didn't catch any of the college ball. I do the full 6 p.m. till 5 a.m. today. So I can't do that on a Saturday. The wife would lynch me in all fairness. So I'll try and play catch up. I do know that Matt Phillips on Twitter, who did all our sort of, what's it called now? Draft coverage as well. He's a great follow on there. Matt's doing great stuff. You'll also find his work in Tom's Huddle magazine as well. Plugging away there. There we go. We're getting there with this now. Right then, what else do we have? We have news-wise. Let's get back to the news, hey. Where are we? We said that the Raiders had lost both their safeties. Yes, the Houston Texans, they sent wide receiver Kishore Martin and a future draft pick to the Patriots in exchange for a 5th round pick. This went down on Thursday. The Bengals corner Adam Jones told reporters on Wednesday that he was fined $35,000 after that skirmish with Amari Cooper where he was trying to bounce his head off his helmet. A very, very bizarre incident that was, one of the most strangest ones over the weekend. And I'm actually surprised that he has not been suspended for that. What were your thoughts on that? And the Big Legowski's just joined us in the chat room. Good afternoon, sir. Hope you are well. The last bit of news I've got for you then is the Packers. They've placed inside linebacker Sam Barrington on the season-ending IR list with an apparent foot injury. Right then. It's all gone quiet with the hashtags, people. So, Hot Route. This week's Hot Route, we have a touchdown. But there wasn't. Yeah, it was a touchdown. It was a punt return for a touchdown from Tavon Austin. We had Jason Witten's touchdown in the dying seconds of the Cowboys games to beat the Giants. We had the Ricardo Allen interception from the Falcons and Eagles game, which sealed the game for the Falcons. We also have a Carlos Hyde touchdown from the 49ers Vikings game on Monday night. And how good was it? 2 games on a Monday night. I could get used to that. Finish work at 5, get home around about 5:15, catch the back end of the game. Fantastic. Just going to check in on Twitter. I do believe Twitter has gone relatively quiet. Yes, nothing's happened at the moment. I'm getting a lot of grief for going 1-0 in the Fantasy League. We will talk about that in a moment. So that's the news done. We've got your plays done. Let's go to the latest bit of stuff that I've got for you. It's the Players of the Week. This is all official via the NFL's main website. So the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. It was a shocker, this one, really. Marcus Mariota for the Tennessee Titans. Mariota completed 13 of 16 passes, 81.3%. They had 209 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and had a passer rating of 158.3. Obviously, that is the highest mark that anyone can get. He is the first rookie to post a 158.3 passer rating on kickoff weekend in NFL history. All 4 of the touchdowns came in the first half, and he is the only rookie in NFL history to pass for 4 touchdowns in one half. Mariota also joined Pro Football Hall of Famer Fran Tarkenton as the only NFL rookies with 4 touchdown passes on the NFL kickoff weekend. Tarkenton did this back in 1961. Also, some more. We're going stat crazy today. Tennessee's 28-point victory was the largest in a season opener by a team starting a rookie quarterback since 1948 when the Bears and Johnny Lujack won by 38 points. And I think that is it. Yeah, he's the first Titans rookie to be recognised as the Offensive Player of the Week and kickoff weekend, and the first Titans player to win the award since running back Chris Johnson did so back in Week 7 of 2012. Right then, next up then, the Defensive Player of the Week for the AFC was cornerback Aqib Talib for the Denver Broncos. He returned that interception, a 51-yard touchdown. He had 3 tackles and 2 passes defended in that 19-13 win against the Ravens. What else do we have then? I'm trying to look for some stats. Yeah, since entering the NFL in 2008, Talib has 7 pick sixes, which ties for the most during that span. Charles Tillman and Charles Woodson also have the same amount. So Talib is the first Broncos defensive back to be named Defensive Player of the Week multiple times since the award's inception back in 1984. On then to the Special Team Player of the Week. That is wide receiver / punt returner Jarvis Landry for the Miami Dolphins. Landry returned 2 points for 74 yards, including a 69 punt return touchdown in the fourth quarter of the Dolphins' 17-10 win over the Redskins. It was tied 10-all, and that 69-yard touchdown with 10 minutes left gave the Dolphins the lead and would eventually prove to be the winning touchdown. He is the third Dolphins returner in franchise history with a punt return touchdown in the season opener, joining Marcus Thigpen and Tom Vigorotti. I'm hoping I've got that right. So they are your AFC Players of the Week. NFC Players of the Week. Offensively, Julio Jones, who was an absolute animal on Monday night. If you are a Eagles fan, Byron Maxwell, how are you feeling about that? Is he the new Osimwa? That was the main fear coming in. He's getting a lot of cash, a lot of people being keyboard warriors after week 1. Calm down, it's week 1. Anyway, Julio Jones is the Offensive Player of the Week. He had 9 catches for 141 yards and 2 touchdowns in that 26-24 win over the Eagles. He scored touchdowns of 22 and 4 yards and recorded a longest reception of the night was 44 yards. 8 of his 9 receptions resulted in a first down or a touchdown. He had 20. He's got 20 catches for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns in his past 2 games on a Monday night. And that performance marked Jones's 20th career 100-yard receiving game. It was the 7th career game with multiple touchdown receptions. On then to the Defensive Player of the Week, and I did warn you that the Rams and the come on, man, I've gone blank. Put the microphone on a Sunday and the mind just goes blank. The Rams and the Seahawks. Yes, I told you the Rams and the Seahawks would be a fantastic game, and it did not let us down, did it? It was one I watched again in the week. What a game. And the Defensive Player of the Week was defensive tackle Aaron Donald, who just put on an absolute school. He was phenomenal. He had 9 tackles, 2 sacks in this 34-31 overtime win. Quick question as well. Do you think that the Seahawks got inside their own heads this week, by the way? Because they had that fourth and 1, didn't throw it, run it. The Rams knew it. And someone explained to me the bizarre decision to go for the onside kick at the beginning of overtime. Crazy decision. Anyway, back to Aaron Donald. Yeah, he was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Special teams wise, he is part of our hot route this week, and we have Tavon Austin for the Rams. We mentioned that 75-yard punt return touchdown and 16 yards rushing in the win over the Rams. Right then, that is your news. We do have fan versus fan coming up around about 10 minutes time. Matt's just joined in the chat room. Good afternoon, Matt. I think there's a lot of chat about college football this week, so John Cartwright's extremely happy about the Julio star player for these Hamster Chiefs. Maybe you should change that, John, to the Hamster Chiefs. Hamster Cheeks, even better. Let's go Hamster Cheeks. That'll be your team nickname going forward. Just going to check in on the text line. The text today, I haven't given out the numbers, have I? Here we go. Call and text the show on 07444 048 266. So if you want to call into the show today, we've got plenty of time. 07444 048 266 is the number to call. You can also text on that. If you want to Skype me, feel free to do so. That is Teece Mister, T-E-E-C-E Mister. Again, I have to say this every week, but that number is one on the big network. So if you've got inclusive minutes, inclusive text, it's not going to cost you anything. It's going to come out of your allowance. However, if you are overseas, and I've got to give a shout out to the people overseas, in fairness, because we've had a lot of listeners from. I was looking at the stats the other day. We got a lot of people obviously listening in the States, a lot of people randomly in Brazil, a lot of people in Australia tuning in, Chile, Germany, Spain, everywhere. So we have a far wide reach. So thank you to you guys listening overseas, and just send me an email, zonecoveragefoootballshow@mail.com. Tweet me, Zone Coverage FS. I'll give you a shout out. It's great to see the show expanding over the world. Right then, back to, David says, hashtag Gibraltar. And he's already voting for the Pats winner and fan versus fan. You'll like Charlie. Charlie's a good guy. He's been on a couple of times. Very, very funny. Right then, so those are the numbers. Again, Skype is Teece, T-E-E-C-E, Mister, if you want to call in. We're going to get into some... everyone's favourite. Last week, it got all sort of comedy effect going on in the chat room. So, it's everyone's favourite time. Sit back. You need to put on like a suede jacket and get like the fire roaring and stuff, because it's time for Loveline. Welcome to the Zone Coverage Football Show, Loveline. And there we go. It gets a chat room every time. Our favourite adult theme music of the week. And before we jump into that, Matt, who I did say did all our draft coverage throughout the course of the off season, he's promoting his college football weekly magazine. So if you go to his website, www.ukdraftguide.com, there's something for everyone. I get the emails every week. So Matt does a fantastic job. We have quite a few of the guys in the chat room also bought his book. I myself bought that book. All the money goes to a good cause. Matt does great work. Highly, highly recommend that you go and check that out. So that is ukdraftguide.com. Right then, says... Apparently, in regards to the love line, I need to change that music. It sounds all kinds of sexual. And Tom as well, Huddle Magazine. Get over. It's Plug City. Let's go. Tom will be on later from Huddle Magazine. Remember, Matt, Tom, we got this little group going. So you won't go wrong if you keep an eye on all of us. And let's not forget the guys over at Dundee NFL, the Fourth Down and Out podcast, who will be bringing us our fantasy advice round about 4:30 today. Let's get back to the love line then. If you do have a favourite adult movie soundtrack, feel free to send them in at Zone Coverage Football Show at mail.com, and we might just mix it up and we'll play them. That can be everyone's homework. Send in your dodgy theme tunes. I'll see what I can work some magic, and we'll have a different one every week. And we'll just roll with that. Anyway, back to the love line. If you are new and you're wondering, what the hell have you been smoking? What are you on? The love line is not an adult movie conference like a book readers club. It's nothing like that, although it's probably going to go down that route eventually. But the love line is where we give the guys on either side of the line, the O-line and the D-line, some love, because all these wide receivers and quarterbacks, they're the superstars of the league. They're in all the magazines, go all the women, all the money. But basically, without these guys on the lines, they wouldn't be the stars that they are. So right then, this is where we pay some tribute to them. So first up, we have Roger Salford, guard for the Rams, 6'5", 322 pounds. He was born in Bedford, Ohio. He played both tackle and defensive end in high school. He then played his college ball for Indiana, playing left guard, where he played 42 games, 41 of which he started. He was then drafted in the second round of the 2010 draft, 33rd overall. Bizarrely, he signed a lucrative 5-year, $42.5 million contract with the Raiders back in March 2014. However, after a disagreement in Oakland over his physical condition, he then returned to the Rams to sign a $31.7 million contract. The Raiders had concerns about his shoulder, which the Rams, when they did the medical on him, said, no, the shoulder's fine. So he could have been a Raider. Didn't work out, ended up getting back with the Rams. He's now played 64 times for the Rams, and 61 of those games he has been named a starter. Interesting stuff there regarding Roger Salford, a guard for the Rams. Right then, next up is Ben Grubbs, another guard. This time he plays for the Chiefs, 6'3". It says here 31 pounds. I do suspect that might be 310 pounds. He is born in Columbus, Georgia. He played linebacker and fullback during his high school. He was a highly sought after recruit. He then went on to play his college ball for Auburn. After a redshirt year back in 2002, he went from defensive tackle to tight end to playing guard. And then since the move to guard, he never looked back, as he never missed a game for the team, making 37 starts. He was then drafted in 2007 by the Baltimore Ravens. He was a first round pick, 29th overall. Spent 5 years with the Ravens. He was selected to the Pro Bowl in 2011. Made 74 games he played, 70 starts. He then spent the next 3 seasons with the Saints, where he started all 48 games before joining the Chiefs this off-season, and he's already started both games for the Chiefs this term. So that is Ben Grubbs and Roger Salford, and they are this week's Love Line. Welcome to the Zone Coverage Football Show Love Line. Just got to play it one more time, haven't you? Just got to. It's got to be done. Right then, we have fan versus fan coming right up. I am told that our Bills friend Matt is trying to log in just now, so looking forward to that. He should be adding me via Skype very soon, so I'm just going to pan for a few seconds in fairness and just see what else we have. So John says he's now updated his I can't speak today. Fantasy team name to the Hamster Cheeks. He will also change the picture to match, and he will keep that if he wins. So appreciate that, John. Right then, we're going to go through some game reviews in a short while. Like I say, fantasy advice. We have the news from Tom coming up as well. So let's going to see what's just trying to log in here. So we might try and get Charlie on the line, but before we do all that, I think we might just let's check in what actually happened. There's a lot of talk about this fantasy stuff from last week, so let's give you a rundown on what actually went down during week 1. I got my rear end handed to me by Will, so I lost 95-83. So Will's team is Ison of the Tiger against the Titans of Tees, lost. The Hamster Cheeks, which they are now called, John's team, he had a struggle, in fairness, winning 122-75 over Kevin's Blantyre Bruisers. Is that? It's probably pronounced wrong, but hey ho, apologies, Kevin. And then we had Cameron, like a boss, is that, or like a boss? I don't know. I don't get none of this abbreviated speech. Anyway, he won 107 0.26 to Sean's team, 73 points. Wright's Rhinos, Jody's team, he only got 55 points. He lost to Ashley's team, who, Ashley, you should know by now, Pat's fan. And apparently also his Bulls are perfect. So some personal information there from Ashley. Paid dividends as he did win 91 to 55. The next game up was the Stockport Falcons. Stephen Stockport Falcons, they won 101 to 62, beating David's New Gib Patriots. Next up we had Terry and the Luton Lightning. They won 86. Close game this one, to 82 to the PAFC Cowboys. That's John's team. And then Steve's team, the Emerald City Hawks, they won 109 to the Wee Man United, 71 points. The fourth down and out, Martin's team, they got 97 points, beating Scott's team, Startled Giants, 77-0. So obviously week 2 is underway, and we'll keep you updated, and we must need like a boss. I'm getting so much grief here in the chat room today. Right then, let's get on to this week's fan versus fan, shall we? I've been messing around for far too long today.
It's now time for Fan versus Fan.
Right, so if you want to sign up for Fan vs Fan, then feel free to do so. Just tweet me at Zone Coverage FS. You can go to the website, zonecoveragefootballshow.com. There's a little contact me button there. There's a reason why you want to contact the show. Click Fan vs Fan, say I want to come on, and we will get you on the show, and we will have some tomfoolery as probably the best way to put that. So we are trying to get the Bills backers to log on just now. He says he is having Skype problems. So that is an absolute nightmare there. So it looks like we're just going to get Charlie on, and then I might just have to be a Bills fan for the day unless someone wants to play part of the Bills. Hit me up. So let's get Charlie on anyway and see how that is going. So Charlie, stand by your phone, sir, and we will get you on and see how the hell you have been over the course of the past few months. It's been a while since we spoke to Charlie, in fairness. So hopefully... Hello, Charlie.
I'm only doing this so I don't get fined.
Good afternoon, Charlie. How the hell are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you, Mark?
I'm great. It's like I say, it's been a long time since we spoke. You've been on the show a couple of times now. So how's life?
I believe it was the first Sunday in February.
Is that how long it's been? Wow.
It's because that's when the Super Bowl was.
So are you still basking in that glory, and are your balls fully inflated, or is that a bit too personal?
Oh, no, they're always inflated.
So, right, then, let's touch on this game a little bit then, Charlie. How was the Super Bowl for you? Obviously, you won the game in the end and all the fallout that sort of surrounded that afterwards. Has it been like water off a duck's back to you, or has it got to an annoying place?
They hate us because they ain't us. That's the way I look at it. Massachusetts native, they hate us because they ain't us. So
that's fair enough. Fair enough, Charlie. For the guys that don't know, Charlie, you were born and bred in the good old US of A, and you moved over to sunny England. How many years ago was this now?
Coming up on 22.
22 years. You are a sucker for punishment, sir.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like a slow, painful death instead of a quick, painless one.
Yeah, that's probably the best way of putting it. So, obviously, you've been here now 20-odd years. How do you keep up with the games back home? Are you into all this Game Pass and stuff, or Sky? How do you sort of...
let's say I watch it by alternative means on the internet.
Yeah, that seems to be very popular alternative means at the moment. So, cool. There's a few people that do that.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I've done for, years ago. It used to be a phone call to my dad on Monday morning. To see the results, days before it's internet.
Oh, right. That is old school then. That must have been expensive, a phone call overseas.
No, I get them free on my phone thingy.
Oh.
My phone package, free calls to the USA, so I abuse it to death.
Don't blame you. Regarding fan versus fan, the Bills fan is having trouble logging on to his Skype, so it looks like you just might obviously represent the Patriots.
Well, I was thinking before, and this is in all honesty, it's so early in the season to really see what's happening. Yeah. It really is. I'm going to say the Pats are going to win. besides the fact that Sexy Rexy is now in Buffalo, he talks the talk, but he doesn't walk the walk. Our record's 23-3 against the Bills.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I didn't think it was that impressive, in fairness. Are you not worried, though? Because obviously, you know that I'm a Jets fan.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I've missed those sort of tweets from you throughout the course of the season that I used to get when you won and we'd lost.
Like I said, the season is early.
Yeah, this is true. So, but in fairness, could you say though that Rex has always give you a good game? We've had some close games, haven't we, Jets, Pat? So, do you think that'll sort of rub off?
Yeah, but the thing with Rex just, in all honesty, just pisses me off. Because he's one of those people with a big mouth. You just want to slap him in the mouth. You really do. And the way he trash talks and disrespects everybody, I just think it's hysterical.
Yeah.
But, it's like, I laughed when he got his Jets tattoo covered with a Bills tattoo.
Yeah, that made me cringe.
What's he going to do when he leaves the Bills, for hire? But it's really hard to say, because like when I watched the Pats Steelers game last week, they weren't firing on all cylinders yet. They really were. All right, say it, Gronk had a stupendous, monstrous game.
Yeah.
But you can also see Brady working out some trust issues with some of the younger players. And our defense didn't look great. It needs work. We're definitely missing Wilfork this year. But I think they can't put all their eggs in one basket with Gronk. I think they've got to utilize Edelman as well as some of the other players.
Yeah, Edelman's he's been like one of those like sort of sneaky sort of players. He's a tough little cookie, isn't he? I like Edelman, and that kills me to say personally. But from as a fan looking in on the Pats, he's the sort of player that I'd want in my team running out the slot. He is fearless over the middle.
Yeah. By the way, how come you never joined my fantasy league?
Wow, you're putting me on the spot here. I was unaware of the fantasy league, in all fairness.
Oh, okay. No, I have one just for farts and giggles.
Oh, no.
No money, just bragging rights.
No,
next year I'll send you another invite.
Yeah, definitely send me a link. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Charlie. I was completely unaware. And if you had invited me...
No, because I don't do it for money or nothing. We just do it literally for trash talk and bragging rights.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's going on in the one that we've got for the show now. So how come you did... I'll flip this on you, Charlie.
I didn't know you had one for the show. You never sent me an invitation or emailed me because you never talked to me after I was right all last season.
Oh, that is shots fired.
I was waiting for everybody I lost against last season in Fan versus Fan to step up and kiss my ring. Or a Super Bowl ring. So one of the two.
Brilliant. Charlie, this is why I like having you on the show. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I feel bad that we can't run with the usual fan versus fan format this week, but
it's a long season.
Yeah, we'll definitely get you back on down the line, Charlie. And before you go, how do you foresee the season then for the Pats?
Oh, well, I see us becoming more of a dynasty, lifting our 5th trophy and outdoing the Giants. So I'd like to see that.
Ah, brilliant.
I'd like to see us win Super Bowl and then have the most in NFL history.
Charlie, I've got some good news for you. Fan versus fan may happen. Matt, the Bills fan, has just connected via Skype. So let's see if I can get Matt on. So if you want to hold the line for a moment, Charlie.
I already just spewed out everything I had to say.
Well, we're going to have to. You know how it goes. We can. We'll figure this out. If I can work out my phone, I don't really know how to do this. I think we are adding him as we speak. So. Ever professional. That's not changed, has it?
Hello.
Hello, is that Matt?
It is, yes.
Good afternoon, Matt. Thanks for joining us. Charlie, this is Matt, Charlie.
You're right, mate.
Right. Matt, Charlie's been on the line for a couple of minutes now. We've had a brief chat with him. We're going to let you introduce yourself. I know you've got some info regarding your Bills Backers UK Twitter handle, I should say. So, Matt, the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you became a Bills fan, and the Twitter handle, and what you've got going on, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, my name's Matt. I do run the UK Bills chapter of the Bills Backers. Hashtag at Bills Backers UK. With Bills actually coming over end of October, we have got a couple of events on. One Saturday night before, we've got a nice Bills bash for all Bills fans. We've got live entertainment. We'll be showing the rugby union semi-final. Hopefully, they'll include England. Fingers crossed. And we're looking to also try, because of that same night, actually get the Tyson Fury fight as well. But that one is subject to actually availability with the Pipeline Bar that we are having the hosts at. I've been a Bills fan since about '99 after the Music City Miracle game, which we don't want to discuss. But we really actually, as a Bills backers UK ourselves, only really come into focus about 2013. Obviously, there have been other guys earlier previously actually taken over, but it's only recently that we've actually really started to actually spread our wings a little bit. Also, we've got our own website as well, which is ukbillsmafia.co.uk. But we're just trying to plod along and hopefully actually do well this season.
Oh, awesome stuff. Right then, so I'm not sure if you know of the actual premise of fan versus fan, Matt, but what we're going to do is we're going to give yourself and Charlie a couple of minutes each. I'm sure, Charlie, you've got a bit left in the tank, haven't you, Charlie?
Yeah, I already spewed everything I had to say, but yeah, go ahead.
We can squeeze a couple more out of you, I'm sure. We get 2 minutes each then, guys. If you've done it within that 2 minutes, just say you're done. If not, I'm going to rudely interrupt you. Then we're going to put it out to the listeners, to the show, and they're going to tweet in, and we'll phone back the winner later on, and we'll do some more promo and stuff as we go. So, Charlie, we've had you hanging on the line for a few moments now, so I'm going to start the clock in a moment, and then when you're ready, tell the listeners why the Pats are going to win today.
Okay, number one, defending Super Bowl champions. Number two, well, 3 words: Brady, Edelman, Gronkowski. Rex Ryan has like this deep, burning hatred for the Patriots, and I love seeing it when he doesn't win. I love seeing him spit out his dummy. You know, and I just picture him sitting in the dressing room eating a large pizza, wondering why he ever had his stomach stapled. Or gastric banded, or whatever he did. It's the fact it's going to be a close game. I can see that. But the only advantage I'd say that Buffalo is going to have would be the weather, but it's a beautiful sunny day in Buffalo today, so it's not that cold yet. And we'll just have to see. I think it's going to be more experience for both teams. Like I said, I think we need work on our defensive line, but it's only going into week 2. And since we obviously have Brady for 4 games, I'm not worried about our record going to 12-4. So all is good. I'm just hoping it's a good game. I think it's going to be a close one, and I'm glad it's the early game, so I don't have to stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning.
That's a fair point, Charlie. Right, you still got a few seconds left, or is that it?
Nah, that's all I can think of now. I don't want to waste everything on the first time I'm on your show.
Ah, fair dues. Right then, Matt, I'll start off your 2 minutes now.
Well, you obviously mentioned the weather there, but we've got a couple of words for there. The cold front. Now we've got Marcel Darius back. Bray's got to be actually hoping his O-line actually holds up. New coach. We've actually been kicked into life. We've got an exciting offense. Tyrod Taylor. You never know what you're going to get with him. He can use both his feet, his arms, and obviously you've got the fan base. Obviously they're going for a world record attempt on trying to get the loudest stadium. So better have the earplugs in, or if you're Tom Brady, actually get a good signal call on there. Rex Ryan, he's brought a lot into us. He's actually brought a new impetus in life. He's actually given us a bit more freedom. We're actually going into games not actually looking for anything. What was the word you want to call it? It's a struggle. Looking for anything plain, vanilla, anything like that. We're actually excited. We've got a good offensive coordinator. We've got LaShawn McCoy. We've got Charles Clay, Sammy Watkins, Percy Harvin, Robert Woods. Explosion on the offensive line. And we've got one of the best defenses from the last couple of seasons. And I just feel that Brady's going to have his eyes in the back of his head because everyone's going to come for him and we're going to get to him. And as you say, it's going to be a good match. But I feel the Bills are going to come out on top and actually start making our way towards the playoffs.
You got 30 seconds left if you want to carry on, Matt, or?
No, I think I've mentioned everything I actually could do, or all I can just say is go Bills.
Awesome. Right, I'll let you guys have a few seconds if there's any replies. Charlie, Matthew, anything you want to say?
I just think that the idea of Buffalo Bills playoffs is an oxymoron. It's like Miami winning and going to the playoffs. It never happens.
Oh, it will happen.
And you got to look at our record against. Our record against you is 23-3, so we'll have to see what happens.
There's a long season. This win tonight will actually go towards.
Exactly. It's too early to see. It's only week 2.
Exactly. But this will go a long way.
Right then, gentlemen, I appreciate you taking the time out. What I'm going to do, we're going to put this out now, a tweet via Zone Coverage FS, retweet this. We're going to do hashtag, obviously, Matt representing the Bills, then hashtag Charlie for the Patriots. And then what I'm going to do, around about 25 minutes time, about 20 to 5, quarter to 5, I will ring the winner back. Again, any sort of links, I know, Charlie, you haven't got as many sort of things to promote yourself, but if you find something of interest you want to send my way, I will retweet that.
I'm just incredibly handsome.
Okay, then.
All I can say is I'm incredibly handsome.
We will tweet that out then. Charlie is incredibly handsome. Matt, your website again was ukbillsmafia.co.uk, is that correct?
Yep.
Brilliant.
Yep.
You find Matt, you're on Twitter at BillsBackersUK. Charlie, your Twitter handle is always a joy, at Yankee Twat.
That's me.
Yeah, gentlemen, I shall speak to one of you over the course of the next 20-25 minutes. Thanks again for coming on Zone Coverage Football Show. It's been an absolute pleasure, and speak soon.
Thanks for having me.
All right, good speaking to you again, Mark. Take care, buddy.
Will do. Bye, gents.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye. And there we have it, a bizarre fan versus fan moment this week. We got there in the end, so I appreciate the effort by both guys there. Hashtag Matt then to vote for the Bills, or hashtag Charlie to vote for the Patriots. And we are approaching now 20 past 4. We do have the fantasy advice coming at you around about 10-12 minutes time. We're also going to have then the last minute news, and we will call the winner up for this week's fan versus fan. So I'm going to put a tweet out in a moment, but for the time being we're going to revisit Hot Route. So if you've come into the show late, this is what's happened so far on this week's Hot Route.
Hot Route. Vote for your favorite play of the week.
Yeah, that was the wrong sound. We'll try this one.
Hot Route. Vote for your favorite play of the week.
Tavon Austin is back at his 34 to receive the John Ryan punt. It is a deep punt, but Austin can return it. He drifts back to the 26, to the left side, 30, 35, 40. Cuts to the left all the way to the sideline. Still going down the left sideline to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, St. Louis! Tavon Austin's second score of the day. This is a punt return from 64 yards. And the Rams are in front now, 23-13.
13 seconds to play. Cowboys down 6, 26-20. Romo creeping up under center, now backs up in the gun. 3 receivers left, single wide to the right. Dunbar to his right. Romo, low snap, bobbled. He picks it up, has time, throws for the end zone. Caught by Witten. Touchdown! Touchdown! Jason Witten. The Cowboys an extra point away from taking the lead with 7 seconds to go in Dallas.
3rd and 8 for Philly, down by 2. Bradford fires through the hands of the receiver and intercepted. Ricardo Allen off the deflection, and that will do it. It glanced off of Jordan Matthews, and that'll seal the deal for the Falcons.
There's a handoff to Hyde, directed right, stops, bounces, he cuts the other way, got a block from Kaepernick, he's at the 5, he angles to the far side, he gallops into the end zone for a Niner touchdown. A 10-yard touchdown run by Carlos Hyde. directed right. The door was shut. Went left. Quarterback with the block. And into the end zone for a Niner touchdown.
So there we have it. If you missed that at the top of the show and you're new, that is the hot route where you vote for the plays of the week. First up was the Tavon Austin punt return and the Seahawks-Rams game. We then had the Jason Witten game-winning touchdown from the Cowboys-Giants game. Then we had the Ricardo Allen interception that sealed the game for the Falcons over the Eagles on Monday night. And also on the Monday night action, we had Carlos Hyde touchdown as the 49ers beat the Vikings. Question as well for John Cartwright, our Vikings fan. What happened to the Vikings on Monday? Do you think that they sort of outfought themselves and thought, the 49ers are going to be geared up to play the run, let's play the pass? Very bizarre. Looked very lackluster as well. I know it's only week one and we try not to overreact, but I'll be interested on your thoughts on the Vikings there. Also thought that Teddy B, he had a bit of an off day in all fairness. Right then, guys, keep the tweets coming in for that. That is hashtag Austin, hashtag Witten, hashtag Allen, or hashtag Hyde. Them calls again were via westwoodonesports.com. Fan versus fan is very interesting this week. Charlie is always a funny guy to have on the show. I love having him on. And Matt's made his debut as well, putting some great points forward there for the Buffalo Bills. It is very, very close at the moment in all fairness. Just a couple of votes in it, so keep those coming in either via the chat room or via Twitter at Zone Coverage FS. Yes, no, John, not you, John. There's John McDonald. He's the Vikings fan. I know that you're not, John. I'm slowly but surely losing my mind. I do know that. Right then, let's get into some game previews.
Are you ready for some football?
I don't know about football. I think I'm ready for a drink. What a mess I'm making of this today. Right then, what do we have coming up for you today? What's Sky's games today? We have, first up on Sky is, obviously the game from Fan vs Fan, the Bills and the Pats. That is your 6 o'clock game on Sky. And then I do believe your 9:25 game is the Cowboys and Eagles. Then we have the late game of the Seahawks and Packers. So 3 decent games. And then we have my Jets at the Colts on Monday morning, Tuesday morning at 1:30 a.m. So first up then on the docket we have the Texans at Panthers. I do believe that all eyes will be on the quarterback situation over in Texas as Ryan Mallett gets the start following Brian Hoyer's horror show last week against the Chiefs. The Texans, they're also going to be out without Arian Foster once again this week, so Alfred Blue and Jonathan Grimes will continue to carry the load. The Panthers won last week against the Jags, and oh, God, it was an ugly, ugly game. That O-line, they're going to need to step up there against this formidable Texans front. In short, both teams will be looking to build up on shaky open day performances. I didn't see a great deal from either team in all fairness. Like I say, it's only week one, so teams are still finding their feet. Appreciate the vote on that one there, Cameron. So another vote coming in for the... what's it called? Hot Route. I keep those votes coming in for Fan versus Fan. Next up then is the 49ers at the Steelers. Can the 49ers carry over the momentum from that Monday night victory over the Vikings? It is a short week for them, and also add to the mix is a cross-country journey, but it's also an emotional return to his birthplace for head coach Jim Tomsula. This is going to be a battle at the line of scrimmage. We had the 49ers with those 3 tight end jumbo sets versus the Steelers front. Both Hyde and Williams looked absolutely fantastic running the rock during week one. I feel that the 49ers have the edge in the secondary. I was impressed by Anton Bethea. He looked very good on Monday night. In fairness, you can argue that the Steelers have the edge at the quarterback situation, so it's going to be an intriguing matchup. And who'd have thought that potentially the 49ers could be 2-0 and the Steelers could be 0-2 going into a week 3. Next up then is the Bucs at the Saints. Both teams lost on the opening week. Jameis Winston will be looking to put his uneasy start to life in the NFL behind him. His first pass being a pick 6. He's going to be wise to utilise Austin Severian Jenkins. So I sort of mentioned him last week that he's going to be a safety outlet, and he showed signs of improvements. Again, we are early in the season, we're clutching at straws to find some sort of narrative going forward. Also, I want to see the Bucks establish the ground game, something they couldn't really do last week because they were so far behind so early on in the game. And also, Saints-wise, I feel that head coach Sean Payton needs to be a little bit more aggressive. He's sort of, what's the word now, sort of moved away from that aggressive coach that we come to love and admire. So we need him to get back to that, some more ballsy calls, but let's not do a onside kick at the beginning of overtime. That's shots fired there, Cameron. Sorry, buddy, couldn't resist. Anyway, Brandon Cooks makes a strong return to the lineup last week, and CJ Spiller looks set to make his debut for the Saints as well. So this poor Bucs O-line against a struggling Saints D. Potential shootout, anyone? In fairness, I do expect the Saints to win this by a good 10 points or so. Next up then is the Lions at the Vikings. Again, these are another two teams looking for their first win. The Lions, they play their second road game of the year, and they will look to put last week's defeat to the Chargers behind them. I do believe they were 20-odd points up to 3 at the half and then crumbled. This mainly come about after Matthew Stafford took a huge hit, and he was never the same from then onwards. He got a hit in the shoulder. I've not seen any sort of reports on that, but we'll see if there's any after effects during this one. Keyboard warriors, I told people, don't be keyboard warriors, but they couldn't resist. There's a lot of heat being aimed towards Megatron already. Yeah, he had a bit of a down week. Stafford was injured. You've gone halfway across the country. It's week 1. Just calm down. As for the Vikings, the most disappointing aspect for them was as I mentioned earlier on, was sort of the lack of heart. We didn't really see that, and like I said, I feel that they outfought themselves with the game plan. But the 49ers going to stop the run. Let's be pass heavy. It's just ridiculous. Week 1, play to your strengths, get back to basics, and let's just see what happens. Amir Dubler for the Lions, I do feel he could be set for a huge game as this Vikings O-line continues with its injury woes. Teddy Bridgewater, hopefully he will bounce back after what was quite possibly his worst outing in the NFL to date. It's also an intriguing divisional game that neither will want to lose. So a lot riding on this one already, and we are only in week 2 of the season. Cameron says that cut him deep. All you've got to say back is the Jets, Cameron. Come on, I would swap your absolute 2 Super Bowls on the bounce. You're probably going to get close to another one. We haven't sniffed a Super Bowl since, God knows when. The memory doesn't even go that far back, in all fairness. Just going to check in on Twitter, because I do believe we have a lot of votes coming in for this week's Fan versus Fan. Again, it was Matt representing the Bills. Their Twitter handle is @BillsBackersUK. Their website, ukbillsmafia.co.uk. So go and check that out. They've got a lot of stuff happening with the international games just around the corner. And representing the Patriots, Charlie, who's been on a couple of times. Twitter handle always makes me smile, is @YankeeTwat. So just say no more with Charlie there. So keep these sort of tweets coming in. We are getting quite a few now, so fantastic. I'm going to tweet out what the UK Bills fans have sent me as well in regards to Twitter, so if you want to check that out on Zone Coverage FS, feel free to do so. They tweeted me like crazy, so fantastic. Appreciate the tweets there, folks. Right then. We mentioned some like betting stuff last week via Oliver and Jody. Jody sent me a message, just said he's going to try and drop on the show next week. So we'll try and sort of get that done and dusted as we go forward. So that will be an upcoming segment on the show. So keep the tweets coming in, both for the Hot Route and for the Fan versus Fan. We're going to touch back on these game previews in a moment, because I do feel it's time that we did a bit of fantasy news. Let's get some sense in the show with Simon, if I can find Simon. So Simon, if you are standing by, sir, we shall get some fantasy advice via your great self. So joining us now will be Simon from the guys at Dundee NFL. Follow them on Twitter. That is at Dundee NFL. Check out their podcast, Fourth Down and Out. Good afternoon, Simon.
Good afternoon, Mark. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic, buddy. It's been a while since we last spoke. How have you been?
I've been really good, thank you. Just been recuperating over the summer, been on holiday to Greece for a couple of weeks, taken over the management of a local under-8s kids football team, so that's taking up most of my life at the moment. But, yeah, really enjoying it, buddy.
Good to hear. We're going to have to touch on last week. Let's get this out of the way. Obviously, mine and your team squared off week 1. I thought you guys would play. I was worried up until half-time, I'll be honest. I thought you played well.
We did okay, didn't we, first half?
Yeah,
I mean, it all went pear-shaped, of course, when Josh McCown went down. When we'd spent something like the best part of 10 minutes on an 80-yard drive downfield. He tried to run it into the end zone and got absolutely hammered, and sort of the game sort of went a little bit downhill after that, really.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was worried because you were just marching down the field, and I'm thinking, where is this Todd Bowles' excellent defense that I've seen for years and years? It was non-existent. And
yeah, and then Johnny came on, of course, didn't he? And then threw a 52-yard bomb to Travis Benjamin, and it was all looking pretty good. But the second half was a total disaster on both sides of the ball.
When Manziel threw that pass for the touchdown, I turned to the wife and I said, if Johnny Manziel beats my Jets opening weekend, I will not watch NFL the rest of the season because that'd be a shame.
Now you see, I was so depressed after the abysmal second half performance of the Browns. I was thinking about doing the same myself. Thought I'm not going to watch this. I pay Game Pass every single week. Watch the Browns, and I'm watching this dross. But I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the game against the Titans tonight. So fingers crossed. And Johnny's starting, of course.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Mariota v Manziel. There's a few stories dating back to college-wise as well with them pair. How do you feel this one's going to go?
Well, I'd like to think that the Browns can bounce back. I think they got the backsides roasted by the coaching staff and the owner this week. So playing at home as well, you would hope, fingers crossed, and that's all it is at the moment, that they're going to bounce back and produce a big win. But you never know. Johnny's starting, so if you can keep the guys in the game, then they should not turn the ball over as often as he did last week in terms of fumbling the possessions. Then really the Browns should win the game, but you just don't know, do you?
No, I find it a tough one to judge because I feel the Titans got out in front so quickly against the Bucs that I still really don't know what the Titans are. Whereas with the Browns, I saw good and bad. So I suppose you could say that this game will sort of give us a better idea of who these teams actually are going forward.
Yeah, because like you say, Mark, the Bucs are pretty poor, really. We saw two things, really, in the preseason. I saw some highlights of the Browns-Bucs game in preseason, and the Browns absolutely hammered the Bucs. The Bucs' offensive line was awful. I remember saying to Russell Duke on Dundee NFL that his Bucs O-line is awful, and Jameis Winston's going to be running for his life most of the season, and that's what sort of turned out last week, really. And so I totally agree with you, Mark. You can't really tell what the Titans are until they start playing a relatively decent defense. But again, are the Browns a decent defense? Most people saying they were a top 5 defense moving into this season, but it didn't look like it after last week's performance.
No, what was worrying for me, obviously drafted Danny Shelton, and you were still susceptible against the run.
Still gave it 150 yards, to the Jets running game, which isn't bad, by the way, and they're very physical up front, is that Jets O-line. So, they did very, very well, but they were disappointing in the trenches last week with the Browns on the defensive side and the offensive side as well. They just couldn't get anything going. So, I agree with you, Mark, but they've got to bounce back this week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it really will be a long old road this season as well, because they've got the Raiders next week. These 3 games, from a Browns perspective, you would expect them to start 3-0 against this type of opposition. That's no disrespect, but then they're starting to play the AFC West and the NFC West teams, as well as the local division matchups in the AFC North. So you can't really see where the rest of the wins are coming from.
Yeah, you need to find your feet and quick. Right then, Simon, let's get into the nitty gritty of fantasy stuff. Russ was on last week and he was quite bold, saying don't start Peyton Manning, and he proved to be right, in fairness, but he did fall on your sword with the start all giant stuff.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah, so that's going to sort of haunt me for the rest of my life, really, isn't it? Well, I don't mind, actually. I don't mind. You've got to make these the old mistake every now and again. But I think what I've decided to do this week is just name everybody, and then I can't get everything wrong. So somebody's got to go right.
Percentage game. I like your style.
I've got a few sort of under the radar prospects that people might not have thought about, especially with some of the injuries that happened last week as well. So I'll sort of cover some of the injuries as well, and potentially on the matchups. So I've also got a couple of defences as well for you, Mark, that may well be worth considering. Again, a bit of a fantasy tip really is we all pick a defense. As you know, at the start of the season, but then I generally swap around with the defenses and try and play them on the matchups pretty much every week. So I've got a couple of defenses as well, but I'm going to start off with Rashad Green, the wide receiver for Jacksonville. Who everybody's saying? Well, actually, I know they lost last week against Carolina pretty dismally, but he was actually targeted 13 times.
Wow.
Which meant, I've done a little bit of digging on this one again, Mark, more than Russell does. Keenan Allen and T.Y. Hilton were the only guys who had more passes thrown their way last weekend. So again, it doesn't sound sort of, Jacksonville, a wide receiver now, we're not going to do that. But again, certainly, in your third slot there in the teams, especially in PPR as well, potentially, in those type of leagues. Tight end Julius Thomas is out, as we know. So Green plays in the slot between Robinson and Hearns, the other wide receivers, and again, he's looking like he could be targeted quite a lot. So again, just that name again, Rashad Green. If anybody's sort of really desperate for a wide receiver that in number 3, filling in a role there, you could get some value out of him.
Yeah, I believe that's a good one there. To be fair, because Robinson and Hearns, they had a bit of a case of the dropsies last week, and if Rashad Green was targeted that many times, like you say, he could be a sneaky one going forward. So I like that one. It's a good call.
Right, let's move on. Now, tight ends seem to be in fashion again in the league, and we a lot of value last week about tight ends, and we speculated on the Fourth Down Out podcast, actually, Mark, around the value of playing two tight ends in your lineup. I'm certainly doing it this week on one of my fantasy leagues, so I'm going to give it a go anyway, and somebody who probably, again, may not have a bit under the radar is somebody called Crockett Gilmore. Now, he's a tight end for Baltimore. Again, he's doing okay. He was third on the team in targets last week. So again, just throwing a stat there that he's being targeted. He was only behind Steve Smith and Justin Forsett on the Baltimore. Now obviously in that game against Denver there wasn't that much anyway, much offense in there. But it'd be interesting to see. The Ravens are going to Oakland. And last week, Mark, the Raiders' defense surrendered 9 catches for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns against tight end opposition. So again, it could be worth looking at the extra tight ends, and Crockett Gilmore could well fit the role.
And he could have a favourable matchup as well, because both the safeties, which at times do line up over the tight end as well, are out for the Raiders. So Crockett, I'm liking this. Under the radar sort of guys could sneak in some points.
Well, we all know our main guys, don't we? We all know the main names there. We, have a look at the matchups and just see what you've got there, and just trying a bit under the wire there, and there's people that aren't necessarily sort of regarded, very favourably. But again, it's worth doing a bit of research and just seeing how these guys are being used by the teams. Obviously, we're quite early on into the season as well. We're only in week 2, but it's there might be some trends in there for people to have a look at as well. Another one, actually, is Andre Roberts, the wide receiver for Washington. Again, another sort of sleeper potential, really. Deshaun Jackson's been ruled out, I think, for week 2. So, again, he's up for grabs behind, I think it's Pierre Garçon and Jordan Reed, the tight end, again, for Washington there, Mark. So, again, he could be targeted by the Redskins. So again, just another name to sort of look out for there if anybody's really desperate in terms of injuries and filling in the positions. Moving on to that's the wide receivers I've got here. There's another one, obviously Des Bryant. I think the news has come out today, hasn't it, Mark, about his sort of long-term injury prospects. And we're talking at least minimum of about 10 weeks, I think, aren't we? Something like
reports, he's gone from like 6 to 8 weeks. So I've seen 10 to 12, like mid-December he'll be back.
So again, where those Des Bryant owners, who else can you target in there? Well, you've also got Cole Beasley. He's another wide receiver for Dallas there, who potentially is going to receive more targets from Tony Romo. You've got Terrence Williams as well, who's probably the clear number 2, but he'll be the clear number 1 now in the Dallas lineup. So again, Cole Beasley, they like to spread that ball around, especially on the offense and the wide receiver position. So Cole Beasley's another one potentially to target.
I've actually
there as well.
Sorry to jump in there, Simon, but I've actually written a mid-game sort of preview notes that expect the Cowboys maybe to run some double tight end sets. Gavin Escobar could feature a bit more as well. So sort of touching back on your tight end sort of thing that you were on about earlier.
Absolutely, it's just worth, certainly for the longer term as well, Mark. Just having a check on what the Cowboys are actually going to do in the absence of Des Bryant and just see which players they are actually targeting, and some of the guys that you might not necessarily have heard of, or like you say, they're using double tight ends, or they're using the extra wide receiver there, or they're placing what would normally be the third down running back in place. Yeah. Just well worth having a look at, just a sneaky look, just this week, just see what the Dallas Cowboys are always actually going to do, and then see if you can pick up anybody that look like they might be targeting him for weeks to come. Certainly whilst Des Bryant's injured, that's for sure. Right, the final one that I'm going to throw in your direction, Mark, before I get onto the defences, now you'll like this one, is the New York Jets running back, Bilal Powell. Now, I'd be interested to see what you think about this. I think he only picked up sort of 12 carries last week because I think he's back up to, Chris Ivory. Yeah. That'd be right. Who ran all over the Browns, as we just talked about last week. Again, but look at the matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. They were hammered in the running game last week as well against the Buffalo Bills, meaning that Powell could continue to get some more carries complementing Chris Ivory. So again, well worth thinking about if you're struggling to put like a number 3 in there, number 3 running back potentially. You haven't got the position on wide receiver to fill in. You're not too confident. Again, look at the matchup. Could be some potential there for Bilal Powell, especially in does he like they use him in the third down situations as well as a pass catcher from the backfield, Mark?
Yeah, he's quite underappreciated in my eyes, as Powell. He's been sort of one of these sort of sneaky guys that sort of hung around the back end of the roster. But yeah, he does on occasion have the odd breakout game. I know where Ivy went down for a couple of games during last season or the season before. Powell, he did fit in admirably, in fairness. So if Ivory ever did go down, I'd jump all over Powell. And like you say, third down, he is decent with his hands, in fairness.
Yeah, and that's a position as well, because obviously with the Jets, potentially as well, they're not overly sort of built in the offense to come from behind in games as well. So if they did, if the Colts did get up and running on 0 quite early, the Jets are going to looking for coming from behind. So you could see more of Powell in that third down sort of pass catching role as well, as you said, Mark. So it's just been interesting as well. So just for people to consider some of these guys, they're certainly against the matchups and think about how the games are going to play out. Could be worth just a bit of a gamble there as well. Right, Mark, I'm going to finish you off today with a couple of defences. Now, I mentioned the Browns' defence being extremely poor against your Jets last week in a very, very deserved win. So I'm hoping they're going to bounce back. I've got them in one of my leagues. I'm going to keep hold of them because I'm expecting the Browns to bounce back and score me some fancy points this week because they have got talent on there, especially in the secondary. However, 2 more defences potentially that we could be looking at. The number 1 in Carolina Panthers against the Houston Texans. The Texans are pretty disorganised. They're not quite sure about the quarterback position. Have you heard who's starting for the Texans this week at all, Mark?
Ryan Mallett gets the start this week.
Right. So again, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Really, with the quarterbacks of the Texans, and the Panthers haven't got much on offense. Let's be honest. They are going to be relying on the defense, and defense has been pretty decent over the last couple of years as well. So again, just on matchups, like I said earlier, Mark, it's well worth having a look and switching your defense potentially for a favourable matchup every week. And I've got a feeling that the Panthers could light up a little bit against the Texans this time, especially with the quarterback position not being certain on there as well. And I'm going to come back finally. Because we haven't spoken to each other for such a while, I'm going to mention the Jets again. I think the Jets' defense could do well at the Colts as well. Again, as we know, the Colts are pretty awful against the Bills. And could they have 2 bad outings in a row? Well, they may well do. Andrew Luck's sort of not got a great record against top-line defenses. And that, I saw the Jets for the full game. Last week I was really, really impressed with that defense. I know you've lost Antonio Cromartie, haven't you, for a few weeks, which is obviously better than it was looking last year. But even so, I still think your secondary is pretty good. The D line is absolutely excellent. It's very, very powerful, very, very physical, and they're going to get after Luck pretty much on every down, I reckon. I think you're going to see more blitzes this week from the Jets as well. So it'd be interesting to see. But again, on the matchup, you could get some value out of the Jets because I was certainly impressed with them last week against the Browns. And can they do it against the Colts? Potentially they can.
I do hope so, sir. Simon, I appreciate all the advice this week. You guys dropped a podcast in the week as well, that's correct, yeah?
Yes, we dropped one on Thursday night during the week. It's It's out now. It's a review of the week 1, and I look forward to week 2 with a few expletives to myself and Russell about our Bucks and Browns.
Excellent stuff. I usually catch up with your show on a Monday night at work. I did tweet it out earlier, but in case you missed that, head on over to at Dundee NFL on Twitter. It's the 4th Down and Out podcast and iTunes, Stitcher, and all those wonderful places. Simon, it's a pleasure to chat to you. Glad that all is well your end.
Cheers, Mark. It's been a pleasure. It's been a long time. Really enjoyed it. So maybe do it again next week.
Yeah, speak to you soon, buddy, and all the best to your Browns this week.
Thanks, Mark. See you later.
Cheers,
Bye-bye
Simon.
now.
Catch you soon, mate. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And there we have it. That is your latest sort of a fantasy update then. So Simon mentioned Rashard Green then for the Jags, Crockett Gilmore for the Ravens, Andre Roberts at wide receiver for the Redskins, Cole Beasley, Bilal Powell, a couple of defenses this week as well, the Cleveland Browns, the Carolina Panthers, and the good old New York Jets. Right then, folks, we are moving into the last 15 minutes of the show now. I've still got a few game previews to get through. I'm also going to ring back the winner of Fan versus Fan, so just totting up these votes now. So voting is done and dusted. We're going to get back on the line. The winner of this week's, the winner of this week's Fan versus Fan. Yes, here we go. Oh dear, it's going to be a long, long day. Right, here we go. So hopefully we can get back on here and we can call the winner up right now. That is the wrong person. So nearly just randomly rang someone. That would have been interesting. Right then, here we go. So stand by your phones, everyone, or your Skype even. So hopefully we can get this week's Fan versus Fan winner on the line. Hello, is that Matt?
It is, yes.
Hi, Matt. You are the winner of this week's Fan versus Fan. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Like I said, you did tweet at me a few of the things regarding the events that you'd got going on with the Bills. Obviously, we have no great prizes on offer for the Zone Coverage Football Show, but I can give you the floor and the opportunity to once again do some promotion on behalf of the UK Bills Mafia.co.uk. So feel free to just rant away, Matt. The floor is yours.
Well, it's just as I tweeted and I said earlier, we've got a bash that would happen at the Pipeline Bar in London on the Saturday. So if you're down at the Regent Street tailgate NFL event in the afternoon, you're a Bills fan, get yourself down. Tickets are available. We've got quite a load left. You can get more details on the website itself. We should have a page on there with all the details and the link to the site. We're hoping to try and get the Tyson Fury Vladimir Klitschko fight. I know that's going to be one of the major fights around there, and hopefully most of the English Bills there will actually be celebrating England and even get into the World Cup final, which we all hope, and actually bring home some silverware in one World Cup tournament or another. We are working on getting some special guests, whether it be Bills fans, past and present, ex-players. We're working on a load of those, so just keep watching the Twitter and watching our website, and we'll have a bit more information as we go along. We do have, if there isn't any American Bills fans actually listening to this, or any sort of Bill fans, on the Friday, we've got a open tour bus, which will take in all the sites of London, Buckingham Palace, London Eye, Westminster, and all that. And again, details for those are actually found directly on our website. It's going to be a good weekend. Hopefully, obviously, with a big Bills win, and it's just a nice chance for Bills fans around the country and abroad to actually get together and enjoy this great sport of NFL.
Awesome. So plenty going on there, Matt. I really appreciate you sorting out your Skype. I know you sent me a couple of messages. You had a bit of mither with that. So thanks for taking out the time there and for coming on. Again, that is ukbillsmafia.co.uk. You'll find all the information that Matt said there. Hit up the Twitter at BillsBackersUK. And Matt, down the line, can we get you back on for this feature if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, I'm always happy for that.
Awesome. Matt, again, I appreciate your time. Good luck. Full disclosure, I never told you I'm a Jets fan, and I'll pull for you guys to beat the Patriots tonight.
Fair enough. That's good. That's always nice to hear.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Anytime, Matt. Take care, buddy, and I'll speak to you.
Cheers.
Throughout the course of the
Bye.
season. Cheers, mate. Bye. So there we have it then. That was this week's Fan versus Fan. And as I keep saying, if you want to get involved in that, you've got something to promote. If you just want to come on, have a good laugh with us, feel free to do so. Hit me up at Twitter at Zone Coverage FS. Shout out to Charlie for coming on the show again. Always a pleasure to catch up with Charlie. Quick question in the chat room this week. Terry asks, is the Wednesday walkthrough coming back this year? I'm not overly sure at the moment, Terry. I've been absolutely crazy busy with work and stuff at the moment. It's something I might get into in a couple of weeks' time. Watch this space, so we'll see how that goes. So we're going to try and get Tom on the line now with your last-minute sort of news and roundup. So if you've got any sort of injury questions, team lineups you're sort of curious about, then drop us a line, a Zone Coverage FS, or in the chat room, and we will get to that. So hopefully we should get Tom on the line any second now. We are ringing, so just got to make sure we press that button, and we should get Tom on the line. There we go. We got a ringing tone. Always good. Good afternoon,
Hello,
Tom.
Mark.
How are you, buddy?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm very well, sir. I forgot what I was going to say then. My mind went completely blank. What have you got for us today? That's what I meant to say.
Well, looking at all the games, we've got some quite interesting news that's come out from a variety of things that have come out from the US. So starting with Carolina and Houston, Dwayne Brown is going to be out today. He's still struggling with his hand injury. And Luke Kuechly will be out as part of the concussion protocol. He's expected to be out for 2 weeks. Washington at St. Louis. Todd Gurley was a game time decision for St. Louis. He's now inactive. Apparently the Rams were always targeting week 3 for him to come back, so that's no great surprise. But Trey Mason is expected to play today, so cover at running back for him, and no need to go rushing out and getting Benny Cunningham this week. In terms of Washington, RG3 is inactive again today, although we've not had any information as to whether he's been playing for the scout team at safety again this week.
Yeah, his fall from grace is stupendous, to say the very least.
Well, yeah, this is it. I mean, they've been a bit more quiet, I think, about what his activities have been this week because of all the talk of how much they might have to pay him in terms of his contract if he was to get injured. So I think they're trying to calm that down.
It has been one of the quietest RG3 news weeks I've had. I suppose this is what happens when Eli Manning and the Giants decide to throw the ball out of bounds and then let the Cowboys' offense go 80 yards at the drop of the hat.
In Tampa Bay, New Orleans at the Bucks. Mike Evans is back this week. He's going to play, and we're expecting CJ Spiller will make his debut after his knee surgery. In terms of the Bucks offense, a lot been talked obviously about Jameis Winston. Apparently he stayed up until 2 a.m. last week watching the game tape, trying to learn how to get better, and the Bucks players have continued faith in him in terms of his work ethic and how he's going to achieve what they expect him to. GM Jason Licht has been out this week, and he said that he's not so worried about Jameis Winston. He was more worried about the defensive performance last week. So some quite interesting news coming out of the Bucks there in terms of what they're doing. Chicago and the Cards. Alshon Jeffrey is out, hamstring, stroke, calf. Not too sure how long it's going to be before he's back, but he's still out. Also, Dion Buchanan and Tony Jefferson, safeties for the Cards, are back in play. So that should make some interesting secondary for Chicago to play. Cutler, there's been a lot of talk from Eddie Royal about Cutler, and apparently all the players are standing behind him and his work ethic. So let's hope he can show that against those two safeties that are back. And Chris Johnson is expected to get a start at running back for Arizona this week. So again, some quite interesting stuff coming out of Arizona. The Bills-Pats, I know you're going to be watching that game, you said.
Yeah.
LaShawn McCoy is going to be playing in that game despite his questionable status, and EJ Manuel is still listed as inactive again. Not that they really need him with Tyrod playing the way he did last week. My Jacksonville Jaguars, not a great deal of news coming out of there, to be honest. The only real news in that game is that Cameron Wake is listed probable. He was limited in practice. He was listed as questionable. He has travelled to Jacksonville. He may play, he may not play. He's going to be a game time decision. With that being a 9 o'clock kickoff, obviously nothing's been decided on that as yet. Minnesota at Detroit. Golden Tate's listed as probable, and DeAndre Levy will not be playing, so that should make it interesting for Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, because Levy missed last week as well. I was expecting him to be back now.
Yeah,
Big loss,
he's expected to be back this week, but he's not made it, I'm afraid. He's another one that's out. Atlanta and New York. The only real thing that we've heard out there is about how the players are liking the way that Quinn is going through his approach to moulding the team and the way he's going through the first steps before the game to just drive home the game plan. So not a great deal of news coming out of New York about Atlanta and New York. San Francisco at Pittsburgh. All the news has been on the Pittsburgh side of things. Antonio Brown is a better worker than a player, apparently, according to the Steelers players. He works a lot harder than the plays that he makes. When you see him in practice, he works really hard, but he doesn't make any great plays, apparently. Whether Steelers fans would agree with that, I don't know. And Le'Veon Bell will complete his final week of suspension, so I expect him to be back in the lineup next week. Cleveland at Tennessee, Josh McCown out, which means Manziel plays again. And he's been talking about how he loves calling the plays from the huddle. Johnny Manziel being the superstar player that he is, obviously just doesn't need offensive coordinators or coaches. He just does it all by himself. Dwayne Bowe will play today, but Justin Gilbert is still out with his hip problem. On the other side of the ball, Tennessee, Delaney Walker will not play today. He's expected to be out for another 2 weeks, and Charlie Whitehurst is still listed as inactive. In terms of this week's news, that's all I've got, apart from obviously you mentioned about Des Bryant and the bone graft. That's looking like being a 10 to 12 week thing now, but there's also been a little bit of chit chat about Cam Chancellor. Despite Seattle's play last week, there's been absolutely no communication between Cam Chancellor and the Seattle Seahawks. So that's still an ongoing situation with him. And there's possible talk that the Seahawks owner might get involved in this process if they were to lose this week. So that's kind of a developing story that's bubbling under, kind of sitting off the radar because of the Des Bryant thing. So keep an eye out for what's going on with Cam Chancellor this week, because he's still holding out, and there may be calls from the fans to start resolving that if things don't go their way.
Yeah, I did see reports in the week in regards to Chancellor that they're like so many $100,000 out at the moment, and hopefully that'll get sorted out. But
yeah, as I say, they're literally saying the Seahawks organisation have admitted themselves that the two sides have literally not spoken this week. Not a single word, not a single bit of communication. So from last week to this week, there's been absolutely no movement in terms of resolving that situation.
Definitely want to keep an eye out moving forward. Right, Tom, again, we've still got the season pass on offer over at huddlemagazine.com.
Yeah, that's our great burner at the moment. Get over there. You're going to... our next issue is out on Friday, so you'll be able to get hold of that. It's going to be geared a little bit towards the Dolphins-Jets game, because obviously that's coming up in a couple of weeks' time at Wembley. And there'll be plenty of other stuff in there, but that is the first issue of the season pass. You purchase the season pass, you get 5 issues. You pay for 5, you get 6. So you're already onto a winner there, and also we'll drop you into a draw for a nice little NFL jersey. So get over to huddlemagazine.com and you could win yourself an NFL jersey. And if not, and you purchase the season pass, then you're going to get some great reading for the next 6 months anyway. So win-win.
Just took the words right out of my mouth. Win-win. Tom, appreciate the time. People get over to huddlemagazine.com, at huddlemagazine on Twitter. Tom, we'll have you back on the show next week with some more news.
You certainly will. I'll catch you later, Mark. Everyone, enjoy your games today. I'm going to be at a loss for the first 3 hours because Jacksonville are playing at 9 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. That's not all about, but I've been tipped off in the chat room that people whose teams normally play at 9 o'clock tend to watch Red Zone and see how everyone else is developing, so I'm probably going to go down that route.
Yeah, it's probably a good way to go. Yeah, I do enjoy Red Zone myself.
Okie dokie, mate. I'll catch you next week. And as always, thanks to everyone who's listened to me ramble on. And you know where we are, at Huddle Magazine on Twitter or huddlemagazine.com on the web.
Brilliant. Appreciate your time, Tom. Take care, buddy. Speak soon.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye. So there we have it. That was the last then of the news. So we should have you all up to date at the moment. So I'm just going to drop back into the chat room because Cameron mentioned something about Cam Chancellor. Says the news is rubbish. Paul Allen is behind Schneider, and he also says that Chancellor has lost around about $2 million up to this point in time, and the keyboard warriors are moaning. Most fans are behind the front office. So I appreciate that there, Cameron. Gives us a bit of a insight there. John also follows that up and says, I hate seeing massively paid players holding out. Yeah, it's as a neutral, Cam Chancellor, one of my favourite players. So Seahawks, the NFL, not just the Seahawks, is a better place with people like Cam Chancellor playing every down. But like you say, unfortunately, we can't control these circumstances. They do happen every now and again. I just hope to see Chancellor back on the field sooner rather than later. Right then, I'm going to round up the last of the game previews that I've got for you. In regards to this week's Hot Route, the winner was Carlos Hyde. Everyone seemed to like Carlos Hyde's touchdown against the Vikings. So that was this week's play of the week on the Hot Route. We've done fan versus fan. Matt won that again. So I appreciate Matt and Charlie coming on the show. Game-wise then, I do believe we got up to the Cardinals at Bears. My notes say obviously the Cardinals thrive with Carson Palmer under centre, and I expect that to continue today. As Tom mentioned, Noah Allington and Chris Johnson look set to start this week. John Brown, Larry Fitzgerald should expose this Bears defence, who in fairness, they did show a little of improvement last week and that defeat to the Packers. But the question surrounding the Bears defence, I suppose, is while they look good for a long stretch, they didn't go the entire 60 minutes. So can they sustain the improvements for the entirety of the game? I very much do doubt that they will. One thing that doesn't concern me, however, is Bears running back Matt Forte, who was absolutely sensational, got me the majority of my fantasy points, but I still lost. So Matt Forte, I need an even bigger week from you, please, especially when I tried to be smart and played the other Denver Broncos. Ronnie Hillman, thought they'll rest CJ Anderson. I'll play Ronnie Hillman. Ronnie Hillman got me 3 points. So now Matt Forte, I need a massive week from you, please, to compensate for my poor management of my team. Back to the game preview. As Tom mentioned also, Jay Cutler, he needs to improve on his decision making, and I also feel that Martellus Bennett will be his go-to guy today, because Jay Cutler's not going to take on the Honey Badger and co down the field, is he? Not if he's got any sense, so you just know the Honey Badger's going to have 3 picks today. The Bills and Pats is your Sky 6 o'clock game, and this one's got everything for me if you're a Pigskin fan. A scourge of the NFL with all the Deflategate stuff. We've got a great QB, kills me to say that, great head coach. On the flip side of that, we've got the ever so shy Rex Ryan and all the bravado that follows him. This dominant defense. It's set to be an absolute belting game in my eyes. And as I mentioned, my experience as a Jets fan, Rex always seems to give Tom Brady fits. Been a lot of close games. I see him looking to flood the A-gaps and prevent Brady from stepping up in the pocket. But I guess the main issue is, can the Bills stop Gronk? LeGarrette Blount looks set to return at running back after serving his 1-game suspension. Marcel Darius, he also returns to the Bills defense after a 1-game suspension. Tom mentioned LaShawn McCoy is back in lineup. Despite carrying a few knocks, that was evident last week, but I feel he could probably take advantage of this poor Pats run defense, and also keep an eye on Sammy Watkins. I feel that he could be set for a huge day today. What was his name? Darius Hayward-Bay was getting behind the Pats secondary in the opening Thursday night game. So Sammy Watkins, I do feel that he could have some joy. He could be the forgotten man that could torch the Pats. I'm just hoping for a tie in all fairness. Right then, up next is the Chargers-Bengals. I put this down as my underrated game of the day. Chargers completed a sensational comeback last week against the Lions. The Bengals offense, that got off to a fast start against the Raiders. They pretty much had the game wrapped up at the half. The Bengals will look to take away Keenan Allen, who set a Chargers franchise record last week with 15 receptions. That matchup between Keenan Allen and Adam Jones Adam Jones. Yeah, Keenan Allen, Adam Jones could be one to watch. For the Bengals, Tyler Eifert, he went off last week, couple of touchdowns, 104 yards. Interesting aspect for me, and this one, though, however, will be third down, as both teams have equally talented, intriguing options at the running back position in the form of Danny Whitehead and Gio Bernard. So could the game be won and lost with whatever them pair do? It could be an interesting sort of storyline. And that's how I'm selling it to you anyway. Titans at Browns. Can the Titans start off 2-0? Mariota, can he once again have more touchdown passes than incompletions? That'd be absolutely scary if he did. Johnny Manziel, as we mentioned, he gets the start as McCown is still recovering from the concussion. As I mentioned during our chat to Simon, the Browns did draft Danny Shelton to shore up the run game, but last week they got exposed by the Jets. Manziel also needs to take better care of the ball and just show a general improved awareness of what's going on around him. It's not all doom and gloom, though, as he looked decent up until the half against the Jets. As for the Titans, last week was no contest, so I'm just looking forward to what are the Titans and Browns about, as I discussed with Simon during the fantasy advice. Next up then is the Falcons at the Giants. The Falcons defense, that looked rejuvenated on Monday night's game against that Eagles high-powered offense, but they did start to lag towards the end of the game. Will that fatigue roll over? They did play on the Monday, travelling. It's not a massive journey, but they've still got to do some travelling as well. Matt Ryan, for me, made some very, very questionable throws, and I'll be keeping an eye on him to see if it was just a week one sort of thing. Is he ironing out the kinks, finding his rhythm, and so on and so on. A player, though, that does not need to iron out any kinks is Julio Jones. He was nothing short of outstanding. He will give this Giants secondary fits all afternoon. The Giants secondary is in for a long, long day. As for the Giants, the fallout this week has all been about that critical moment and last Sunday's opener against the Cowboys. Much has been made about the clock management, Eli Manning throwing the ball throwing the ball out of the bounds rather than taking the sack. But you still got to ask, the big question for me is, how do you let the opposition go 80 yards down the field in under a minute to win the game? That is beyond criminal. Prince and Mukamara against Julio Jones should be an interesting contest, but I can only see one winner here, as Julio absolutely took Byron Maxwell to the cleaners last week. I expect points and turnovers in this one. This could be a high-scoring game. Next up then is the Rams at the Redskins. As I've mentioned, Aaron Donald put on an absolute clinic at how to play defensive tackle last week against the Seahawks offense, and I did tell you that game would be amazing. The Rams are looking to start 2-0 for the first time since 2001. And do you remember last season when the two teams met? Jeff Fisher trolled the Redskins by naming all the players that he acquired via the RG3 trade as captains. One of the most subtle yet funniest things that Jeff Fisher has probably ever done in his life. It was fantastic. Back to the game, like the 49ers, the Redskins, they didn't look as bad as we all thought they'd be. Alfred Morris, Jordan Reed were once again to do the lion's share of the work on the offense. Next up then is the Dolphins-Jags. Despite the win last week, the Dolphins, they looked less than convincing, in fairness. Even the D-line and the run game, that looked very subpar. Tannehill's performance, that was not up to what I'd seen during the preseason. As for the Jags, they just need their playmakers to show up. Last week, during the second half, the Jags gained just 75 yards on offense. They were intercepted twice and gave up 4 sacks. Both Alan Hearns and Allen Robinson had a case of the dropsies, so they're going to have to improve that to beat both teams are going to have to improve, in fairness. Dolphins got the win, and they always say winning bad. And it's a sign of a good team, but yeah, both need to step up. And in my eyes, the Ravens at Raiders there. The Ravens, they suffered late heartbreak against the Broncos, but another stout defensive performance should see them ease past this Raiders team's questions. However, that remains on the offense. They rushed for 75 yards and failed to score an offensive touchdown. You've got issues when both your fullback and running back leave the team with 4 receptions each. As for the Raiders, the preseason defensive hype, that bit them hard, in fairness. They surrendered 33 points without reply, and as we've mentioned several times on the show now, they've lost both the safeties due to injury, and also Derek Carr. I'd be interested to see how he recovers from a hand injury that kept him out of large chunks of the game last Sunday. Your 9 o'clock game then on Sky, Cowboys-Eagles. No Des Bryant, so Byron Maxwell should be in for an easier night after getting torched by Julio. The Eagles, they need to start sharper than they did last Monday against the Falcons. Bradford at times, for me, he looked clinical. In fairness, once he got into a rhythm, he was hitting those short passes over the middle. So can he follow that on? Also, DeMarco Murray faces his old team, so it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the tables. Although I suspect that Sproles will likely get the majority of the action once again. As for the Cowboys, you mentioned it in the fantasy sort of preview, expect some two tight end sets with Gavin Escobar and Jason Witten there, and Cole Beasley. As Simon mentioned, also should see plenty of action. Your late game then is the Seahawks at Packers, 1:30. This, of course, a repeat of the NFC Championship game on which the Packers will look to avenge. No Cam Chancellor again this week. Issue remains. Questions, I should say, for this O-line for the Seahawks. For the Packers, James Jones' return, that was huge last week. I pretty much expect that to continue. James Jones, Aaron Rodgers, red zone is just a touchdown goldmine. If you've got him in fantasy, you are quids in. And also, another good person you might want in your fantasy team is Tyler Lockett. Definitely one to watch on special teams. He has just continued his, preseason form into the regular season, so keep an eye on him going forward. And last but not least is the Jets at Colts, Monday night / Tuesday morning, 1:30. Expect the Jets, I pretty much see them going as the way they did last week, in fairness. Ground game, see if we can get up in Luck's face, and hopefully we can come away with a win. Brandon Marshall, expect him to be blanketed by Vontae Davis. That should be a great contest. Also, I've got a few questions over the golden oldies for the Colts. Can Frank Gore and Andre Johnson put their opening day woes behind them? Hopefully, it's their first game in front of the home crowd, so they will look to, improve on their miserable week. No T.Y. Hilton again, so expect Dante Moncrief to get most of the looks on the Monday night game. And that is, it's 5:10, rolled over again this week. 2 weeks running that we've rolled over, so definitely getting your money's worth there. 0 pence, so that's always good. Right then, I am done and dusted. I'm off to grab some tea, chill out with the wife, and then that is that. We wrap up the show. Thanks to everyone that's been in the chat room this week. Sorry that I've not dropped in and caught up with what's been going on there. Plenty of talk. Like I say, if you're new to the chat room thing, you can go back and just check the thread there. If it sounds like good fun, you like what the guys are saying in there, just sign up to Spreaker.com, search Zone Coverage Football Show. You can then listen live and chat with everyone else. Good fun. Thanks to everyone that voted on this week's Hot Route. Again, the Carlos Hyde touchdown was what you guys voted as the play of the week. Fan versus fan saw Matt take down Charlie. So I appreciate you guys joining in there. Again, if you want to take part in that, hit me up at Zone Coverage FS. Thanks to the guys over at Dundee NFL for their fantasy advice. And last but not least, thanks to Tom for the last minute advice and team news as we head towards kickoff. And once again, thank you to everyone that's joined me. It's been a fantastic week. Week 2 of the season. We have 15 to go. 15 to go. It makes me feel sad as there were 2 gone already. Everyone's saying goodbye in the chat room. So, right, guys, enjoy your red zone, enjoy your games, and we'll be back next week. We'll be 3:30 till 5 o'clock. All the sort of regular season shenanigans. Thanks for tuning in, and until next week, hustle, hit, and never quit. Never quit. Never quit. Today's show is brought to you by ZoneCoverageFootballShow.com. If you're missing the live shows, then fear not, as you'll find us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and now YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us some feedback. And until next Sunday, hustle, hit, and never quit.